you don't see yourself as a functioning member of society anymore.
I have a hard time breathing.
Not having the motivation to go hang out with friends.
You will sit and wonder what's wrong, but you can't ever put a point on it.
Completely apathetic.
It's kind of always there.
It's a emotional drain that can make you think things that are not your actual thoughts.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2.
We've all felt sad before. We've all felt despair, but for how many of us does that despair never stop? For how many of us does the simple act of getting out of bed feel like a Sisyphean task with no reason and no goal? Well, according to the World Health Organization, about 5%. For a bit of context, that is almost twice the population of the UK, Germany, and France all combined. And yet, I bet not even half of you really know what depression actually is or how to help somebody who has it. So, I suppose we got to start there. What is depression?
It's a difficult question. What is depression is a very broad question. For me, depression has kind of manifested in a lot of different ways. And I think that the stereotypical kind of way to view depression is just, oh, it's sad, it's sadness, you're feeling down, you're feeling blue. But for me, it's a wide variety of emotions. And also it impacts a wide variety of things.
It manifests itself in a few different ways. One, obviously that deep loneliness, feeling hatred, feeling, again, loneliness, disconnected from society. For me, it's been a lot of detaching myself from reality, getting to do other things to kind of just distract myself.
I couldn't enjoy anything. Nothing, even a beautiful sunny day, which if anyone who knows me knows that being outside in any weather, but on a beautiful day, is like healing. It's just always been what I want to do. And so I'd find myself sitting in the house, looking out at an extraordinarily glorious, stunning day, and not feeling anything, like not even wanting to go out in it. And also, in addition to that, almost being so aware that I wasn't enjoying it, that I realized, oh my God, I just lost that sense. I've lost the ability to enjoy anything. Like a cool breeze on your face. It's like, it's nothing, it stirs nothing in you.
When you are severely depressed, you don't feel like it will ever end. You are convinced that the way you feel, the sheer emptiness, will never go away, and sometimes all you really want is an easy way out, a way to stop all the suffering.
I don't even remember what happened to lead up to it. That's like the thing with a lot of the stuff. You don't usually even remember what triggered it to happen, especially weeks, months after. But I remember that I was just like, I felt like I was nothing. And it gets to that point where it's like, sometimes you just feel like you're not worth being there. And again, it's not worthlessness, it's just that you're not enough to be worth something. It's like a weird way to describe it, I know, but it's the way that it's always felt for me. And I remember in this moment I was contemplating taking my own life, and which is a very thing that happens with people with depression, is you get to these low points that you can't get out of, and you're like, it's not worth trying to get through.
Well, when you get into those kind of deeper, darker areas, for me, it's getting away from people, getting away from places, and just going somewhere that's not anywhere, if that makes sense. For a big part of it has been music for me. Music helped a tremendous amount and all that. Probably my deepest, darkest time was struggling with school, some school stuff, friends and family. Didn't want to do it anymore. So there was a tall bridge nearby that I actually went to and jumped off. But I guess good thing was that the water's too high. So I mean, I walked out with some bumps and bruises. Wasn't anything too serious, but I was young, I didn't see a way out, and for me it was the easiest option. And the one thing I remember most from that was kind of a feeling of relief when it happened.
Despite being the 11th leading cause of death in the US, taking more than 500,000 lives in 2023 alone, suicide is ultimately preventable. Despite that, we as a culture have stigmatized mental health to the point where people often don't feel comfortable reaching out, and even when they do, most of us wouldn't know what to say. Ironically enough, it's when you don't have time to think about your words that they hold the most significance.
I have a relative who, a number of years back, when I was very young, or I was in my early adulthood, and this relative called me and was basically needed to be talked off the cliff. And I felt so honored that that person thought that they could call me in that moment. And in that moment, I realized that the responsibility I had. And so I did what I thought was right in that moment. And what I thought was right was to remind him of all the things that I knew he loved. Excuse me. And what I realized as I was reminding him of these things is that intellectually, he knew that he had enjoyed them once, but he couldn't do it anymore, And I thought, wow, but no, I mean, just step outside, it's gonna be okay, or do that thing you love, like paint, And he was like, it doesn't work anymore,
So then what does work? What actually helps?
And I'm realizing as we're talking that I'm just talking and talking and talking and talking, which is cathartic, actually. It's like, oh shit, yeah, talking about it, sure, wow.
What helped me through my depressive spell was beginning to live authentically as myself.
Community is one of the greatest ways to get out of a depressive spiral.
I find a lot of comfort in talking to people about these kind of things. I find a lot of comfort in being around others.
For me specifically, with depression, I mean, having those close friends as family is the best thing you could hope for.
At the end of the day, all we have is each other. Across the world, between massive countries with thriving economies and tiny little island nations you've never heard of, there's always one link connecting the places with the happiest, healthiest, and most thriving people. Community.
Just processing it, going through it, not denying its existence or not dramatizing it, just accepting it as it is and coping with it.
I think it's very beneficial to have a conversation about what's going on with yourself.
Community is one of the biggest and best things to have because it makes you feel like you're not alone. And sometimes you can get a little, I'm gonna be honest, I can get a little about it. It's like, no, I am alone. I am.
It was really helpful to have a helping hand when I needed it, but it was also hard to ask for help.
You could be with your friends and with the community, and then you could go home, and once you're not with that community anymore, that's when you go down into your depressive spiral and things start getting worse.
I think community is tremendously important. It can be hard though.
Odds are you or someone you love will have depression, and even knowing all the right things to say might not be enough. All we can do is love each other as deeply and as much as possible, because when the dust settles and the earth is engulfed by the sun, that is all that will have mattered. That is how I was going to end the video. I was going to wrap everything up in a nice, neat little bow, but I'm not so sure that's the right decision anymore. Depression isn't an issue that can be solved so simply. It is a massive societal epidemic, and no matter how loving a community is, it won't fix all your problems. Depression can't be fought off so easily, and even if it could, I wouldn't really know how. I'm just some 16-year-old kid struggling to deal with my own depression. As much as I want to, I have no idea what will help you. Everyone's depression is inherently their own, and what works best for me might not work best for somebody else. Beyond that, most of the time, what actually makes it feel better is not easy to do. Talking to people, opening up, showing that trust, it's terrifying. Even I probably don't take my advice as much as I should. Even I am way too hesitant to talk about my own experiences with depression. I didn't even want to come on camera saying any of this because I hate being vulnerable, and I know for a fact that I'm not the only one. If you or somebody you love is struggling with depression, then the best I can really do is say I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't have been more help. Even still, I hope you get something from this video. I hope you, I don't know, maybe open up a little bit more, because it helps. As horrible and terrifying as it is, it helps. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe that's what this is.